Hello, and welcome to the Boston French Film Festival's Q&A with filmmaker Anne Fontaine. My name is Kristen Hoskins, and I'm the co-director of Department of Time and Space. We are hosting this year's film festival, which runs through March 28th, with 10 titles available. I would like to thank my partner Carter Long and co-curators of the festival, our colleagues Marion Luntz and Tracy Stevenson at the Museum of Fine Arts, Houston. We are lucky during these challenging times to be able to work across the country and world to be able to bring the best in cinema into homes in New England. And it's my pleasure to welcome our moderator, Barbara Bouquegneau, Executive Director of the French Cultural Center, Alliance Française of Boston and Cambridge. The Cultural Center has been a part of the French Film Festival since its inception, and we are honored to call them our partners in this year in presenting the festival. And a shout out to Clemence as well, who's been helping us day to day, getting this festival out to our audiences. Thank you so much for joining us today, and please welcome Barbara and Anne.
Thank you, Kristen. Anne Fontaine, bonjour.
Hello, bonjour.
Bonjour. So we're so happy to have you here. And for the sake of all our friends here in the Boston area who want to take part to the festival, we are conducting this interview in English. So welcome, bienvenue. It's an absolute pleasure. The Boston French Film Festival has been a big fan of all your work for a very long time, since almost its inception. So you yourself are no stranger to Boston, as we were discussing just previously. And your latest movie, Police, which has been translated as Night Shift, is part of this year's Boston French Film Festival lineup that we conduct online. So before we talk more in depth about Night Shift, I wanted to go back in time a little bit and talk more about your career. And my first question for you, which is more of a statement, is you were not exactly born with your feet in cinema. Your background and where you come from, you were born in Luxembourg, but can you tell us a little bit about your surroundings, your environment?
Yes, I was, when I was a child, I began to dance, to take dance classes. It was my first passion very early. And I did some modern dance and classic. And one day a director, French director, Robert Hossein, was looking for an actress to do the character of Esmeralda. Esmeralda is the character of the Hunchback of Notre Dame, very famous book about Victor Hugo. And it's like that I began, not a choice, but it was the circumstance that I was chosen by him to do this part. I was dancing the part and also doing the acting. And it's maybe through this beginning of this experience that I began to imagine that I could be a script writer, because I didn't like to be an actress. I was not comfortable with this idea to be chosen by somebody and not me that decided what I am going to do. It took some years to be sure that it was not my destiny to be an actress. But I learned a lot at this moment to be able to direct other actors, because I observed the actors around me, and I began. It's for that reason I am autodidact. I didn't do a school. I wrote a script, and it was my first movie. It has been my first movie like that, and that's rare, of course, to have this kind of determination, and also unconscious, because if you are too conscious, you are afraid, and it's difficult to begin. That's more or less the way I began.
I read somewhere also that you were encouraged in your writing and director's career by Jacques Audiard.
Yes, that's
an important.
Yes, Jacques Audiard, who was at this period a script writer. He read, it was my first person who read my script, and he encouraged me because he says that nobody can do it if it was not me. It was too singular and too personal to be done by somebody else. And I was proud in a way to have this advice, but also afraid because I didn't know how it was as a shooting.
A movie shoot. So the first movie that you're talking about was back in 1992. It was Les histoires d'amour finissent mal en général.
Yes.
Right? So that's, you can translate it as love stories don't end up well in general. Can you tell us a little bit about the subject matter and what drove you to write about this?
It was a very young female character who was from Morocco, but French, but with the les racines marocaines,
Roots
from Morocco, and she was a girl who wants to marry with a guy very strong, very normal, and because she was working in a theater, she was attracted by the guy who was an actor, and she was between these two boys, and it was a character that never knows what she's going to decide. Very, I think, young. It was a very fragile character, but I think Agnès Varda liked it very much and gave me the prize of Jean Vigo with this movie, was about something very fresh, and yes, the story was fragile, but I think with sincerity, and the actors were very touching.
And so what better endorsement first than Agnès Varda? So bravo. Yeah, you can't do much better than that. And with this movie, so right away, there's this thread into your work that seems to be you like to shatter conventions about what it is to be, what a romantic relationship is supposed to be like, what a marriage is supposed to be like. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because we see this also with, for example, dry cleaning, nettoyage à sec.
All the movies, in a way, even comedies or more dark movies, are about characters who are in society with parts that we think that they are going to be not square, but like that they know where they are going, but always the something about their dark, not dark, but they are unconscious. They follow a direction with transgression, with something new about them, something about sexuality, or there are characters that are looking for freedom in a way, and not conformism of the society, against the conformism of the society. It's something I have done without thinking that I am doing that. It was also my instinct to work about characters strong and that are able to do things that we don't have to do in a way.
Yes. So there's a lot of very strong female characters in your work. And so we tend to think about those when we just reflect on your whole career, but you don't leave your men behind, and you remain very faithful to what I would call a family of actors. Can you talk to us a little bit about your collaborations, for example, with Isabelle Huppert and Fabrice Lucchini, or even Benoît Poulvord?
Yes, I have the chance to work with amazing actors. Isabelle, it's a link that it's since a long time now. I have done a comedy for her and Benoît Poelvoorde, My Worst Nightmare, the title, and I really wrote for them because they are a couple completely eccentric and not conventional at all. Isabelle is like a Stradivarius. She's an actress that always you film her, you never know how the expression of her face is going to express the feeling. It's always 2 or 3 levels. And for a director, it's something very exciting to have this kind of actors. But I have also shoot with Naomi Watts and Robin Wright. And also I felt a sensibility and a way to express human condition in a very subtle and deep and talentless, because the actors are the les racines, the roots of the character that you are going to create. If they don't are existential, if they are only good actors, it's not so interesting. But the choice is so important. Benoît Poelvoorde, for example, it's an actor. I shoot 3 movies with him, and I could shoot 10 or 20. It's like somebody I felt in my family. It's like a brother, but who will be a very good actor. And also in police, you have Grégory Gadebois, and I have done, because I have just shoot a movie now, and it's the 3rd time I take him for a part. It's exciting to mix people you know, actors you know well, with others that it's the first time, and this balance is exciting, I think.
So this movie that you were talking about with Isabelle Huppert and Benoît Poelvoorde, that was also the first time that you worked and that you chose Virginie Efira,
yes,
who is acting in the police, so Night Shift. Can you tell us about how you met her and why you chose her?
I met her when she was actress, of course, but it was the beginning, because she was before working on television in Belgique, in Belgium. And when I met her, the first time for Mon Pire Cauchemar, I felt that she has something, I don't know in English, solaire, very magnetic, sexy, and very spontaneous. And she was in front of me, and I felt with this energy. But I didn't know at this time that she could be so subtle, so deep, and because she hasn't done many parts at this time when I chose her. But after, I always look at her work since I worked with her. And when I wrote Police, she was like an evidence, because she has this way to be the girl next door, but with an intelligence and a very deep way to be inside of the parts. You know, she's great. She's magnetic.
Yes, and we'll talk about the Night Shift in a little bit, but what strikes me when I think back at the movie was all those extreme close-ups on faces, and so many shots are of Virginie's face, and you can see the emotions on her. So can you tell us a little bit, because that reminded me of something, and then I saw something online when you were talking about your American influences and John Cassavetes in particular and his movie Faces. Is that really where this kind of filmmaking comes from?
Yes, I thought about, because it's rare to have a story that takes place in police mood, and to be metaphysical, to be like you say, faces from Cassavetes or Bergman movies, because it's the mystery of what happens behind the face, behind the uniform, because the police has a uniform and everybody looks the same. And this story touched me because this female character has this fragility at this moment of her life, and it's because she has this fragility that she could open the eyes in another way than the use to be, you know, because it's a job where you have to obey rules and you don't have to think by yourself. And I work with her through these things that you have no words to express, but you have to feel from inside, and that's very interesting to do and to film.
So you talked a little bit about working with Naomi Watts and Robin Wright on your, as far up to now, that was your only movie shot in Australia in English with Anglo-Saxon actors.
Yes.
So go ahead.
No, me speaking in English, and Naomi sometimes say to me, what are you saying? I don't understand anything. But I liked very much this experience to work in another language, and also with these marvelous actresses. And this story from Doris Lessing novel. In French, it was Perfect Mothers, but in America, it was Adore. They were afraid to say the name Mothers.
Mm. And it's also known as Two Mothers in the festival circuit. So the movie had...
Because Perfect Mothers, there is an irony in the title. And of course, this story speaks about something with erotic mood between two women and two young. They are not so young, they are 20. Brothers, not brothers, like brothers, and it's a story amazing that this Doris Lessing, who is a very famous writer, she wrote it at 85 years old. This sexy relationship between these two mothers and two young sons, but. They were, when I was in Sundance with the movie, it was a shock because I was inside of show, looking at the movie I present. It was a Saturday at 8:30. I didn't know that I was in a part of America where conformism it's strong. Mm-hmm. And after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I was with Naomi in la salle.
The theater.
I began to hear, oh my God, because Robin Wright put her hand on the shoulder of one of the boys, and they were really shocked. And it's for that reason, I think Perfect Mothers, the title, it was not for Anglo-Saxon audience possible.
Well, then, you just lifted the mystery out of the dual title. So thank you for this. And I know that, I'm not asking you to make a generalization because every actor is certainly unique, but can you identify at least some trends and some main differences between working with French or Belgian actors or Naomi Watts and Robin Wright?
It's something that I discovered, but I knew by other directors that always speak about that Anglo-Saxon actors are very, very, very deeply prepared. They worked about their parts, about all the scripts they know inside the head. And I felt that in Australian with Naomi and Robin. And also when I worked in Polish with the Innocence, a movie I have done where it was in Sundance also, and the Polish actresses, the same. In France, it's a little different. Not all, but they don't work in the same way when they, for example, somebody like Benoît Poelvoorde, he's a marvelous actor, but you never know if he knows the text. Maybe he doesn't know a quarter of an hour before. After that, he knows. It's more rock and roll in this part. My experience, it's I think it's different also if they have done theater or not. If what's the formation, but I was impressed by Naomi Watts because she has everything in mind. It's like it's impressive. Yes, she knows everything in 3 weeks that we're going to say this sentence, and this sentence is important for now to think about. Well, she's very intelligent, of course, but she has a way to work. She's amazing.
So we just spoke about a little bit of the difference between actors in the Anglo-Saxon world versus more like French and European, that Western Europe world. How about the position of women film directors? There's a lot of emphasis these days, as we all know, about feminization, like the inequality in recognition and pay for women versus men in the same job. What's your experience been as a woman film director, both in France and abroad?
I never have felt, almost never, maybe at the beginning, but that it was a problem or a difficulty to be a woman director. Only when I was in America to present a movie, it was not that it was a problem, it was a question always how it is to be a woman director, like how it is to be a transsexual, It was like something very rare and strange. In France, there are many, and now it's not, of course, it's not the same than the men director, not the same. I think maybe we have a difference in the way we are paid, but I am not sure now because there are many young and brilliant directors, female directors that have good hits, good success. Because before we say that women films are good, but not so pas aussi commercial, not so.
No, that's commercial.
Than men directors.
Mainstream.
You have that. No, I don't think that. I felt at the beginning that when you don't know what decision to take because you are a woman, you don't know. And if you are a man, you are thinking about. You take the time to think. Well, this kind of things, But really, in my experience, it was a strength to be a woman director because the stories are different and the French producers are open. I am optimistic about that.
That's great. Let's talk a little bit more about Police. So it is adapted from a novel by Hugo Boris. You don't always adapt from previous material, you write a lot yourself. So what led you to do this adaptation?
Because when I read this book, I felt in connection with this character of Virginie, this woman who is fragile and who is going to do something completely out of her
out of character, out of
yeah,
her usual ways.
exactly. And that was for me to do also a movie in one night, one day, with this intensity about, as you say, faces of this police, and also, of course, about this man that we don't know about, this foreigner, Tajik man from Tajikistan.
So just for our audience who has not seen the movie yet, can you just summarize in a couple sentences the intrigue, what happens in the movie?
I don't say what happens because they are maybe going to see, but the dispositif is two men police from police and one woman that are going to have a mission that never they do before, because they are proximity police. They work on in Paris, and because there is a fire in a refugee
in a refugee camp,
a sort of refugee camp where the people has to be back in their countries. They can't stay in France, and they have to do this work, to have somebody they don't know and to bring him to the airport. And it's going to be an adventure, human adventure between these four characters. There are three. There is Omar Sy, who does one of them, who is in love with Virginie, who is in the back of the car, but they are in an adultery story because she is married and she has a child. She's pregnant, and she has to do an abortion the next morning. And when she goes for this mission, she's in this mood, And the other one, Grégory Gadebois, who is an amazing actor, he's completely il est dans les clous. How do you say that? He is completely formal. He wants to obey, say that
he's by the book.
By the book. He doesn't want that because they begin to ask themselves, what is this guy, how he's going to be in this country. They are beginning asking questions to them, but the other one wants to be not open to somebody that we don't know, and this quatuor is going to have an intensity. It's like an emotional. C'est comme un emotional
journey.
Way. Yes. It's different, the adaptation of than the book, but the book had these characters inside, and this it's like a trip inside of human condition, and with the questions very important, what we do if we were them. Qu'est-ce qu'on ferait à leur place?
Mm-hmm. What would we do when confronted with such a dilemma?
Voilà, c'est vraiment un sujet métaphysique sur des êtres qui normalement ne doivent pas s'intéresser à l'autre, ils doivent faire des actions.
It's a metaphysical subject that deals with people who usually should not be confronted with such situations and would not have to think necessarily to the other person next to them. So we spoke about Virginie. So Omar Sy, as you probably know right now, is the #1 star on Netflix with the série Lupin. So even in the United States. So people have been asking a lot of questions. What was your experience with him?
Very simple, very direct. I met him for a part different than he's used to, more maybe soft, more, inside, more fragile. And he liked the part because of this sensibility. And also I felt that he has a good relationship with Virginie on screen. And he was very, very strong in the way he's natural, and very also I told him not to laugh because he's known to laugh, a lot. But in this character, it was not exactly the mood. And he has this very sexy presence. He has something, and he was surprised that I say that to him. I said, you are sexy. He said, what? What are you talking about? No, very, very, very easy to work with him. But we spoke a lot before about the character, but also about our childhood, about where we lived before. He wants to know things about, because I raised up in Portugal, in Lisbon, and it's a way to work also, to speak about the way we were before to do cinema.
It's a matter of, establishing trust also.
Trust and past.
Linked to the past. How about Grégory Gadebois?
Grégory Gadebois, as I said to you, he has done a movie with me, Marvin, ou La Belle Éducation, where he was a father, very homophobe, a difficult character, and he was amazing. And now I have done a movie with him and Jean Dujardin, where he's a president inspired by François Hollande, and Jean Dujardin is inspired by his two ex-presidents. And Jean, Grégory Gadebois, is an actor who can do everything. He can be you can hate him, you can't hate him, even if he's a character. And in this character of police, it was a character that you don't like very much, because at the beginning, because he doesn't want to hear about other problems. He doesn't want, he looks stupid because he says that we have to obey the rules. He doesn't want to think by himself, but he has this intensity and humanity that is stronger than everything. I think he's one of the, now he's going to be, and he's already one of the best French, powerful French actor, I think. Like Depardieu, he has a possibility, very, very impressive.
Can we talk back a little bit, because we just mentioned it once and it was such an important movie in your career as well, about Les Innocentes, The Innocence, that was back in 2016-17. You received all the nominations at the French Academy Awards, and you mentioned a little bit how different the actors in Poland work as well. So what drove you to that project, and what was the experience like with the Polish actors?
It was a story, when I discovered this story, it's a French producer that makes me aware of the story. That's a true story. And there were a script at this moment I read, and I was really, I felt the story was amazing. This convent that is at the end of the Second War, that is completely out of the world because many nuns are raised by the army, Russian army, and they are pregnant, but they don't know, they don't want that somebody help them to discover the situation. And it's a really very strong story. And it was in Polish that happens. And I felt that I have to do it really there, and not trying to do in another country. and the young doctor is a French woman that discovered this reality and hide. And it was very difficult because I was with a crew Polish. I didn't speak, of course, Polish. They speak English, but like me, you know, so. And also the Polish actresses, some of them marvelous. They didn't speak English at all, and it was something very, very intense. And I liked to work in another language, and I'm going to do it again because it's like you have to catch in the faces, you know, in the, even if you don't understand the sentence, you understand very well if the emotion is there. And it was it was a very strong experience, very different, of course, than to do a movie here in France, because you are at the in a little town in Poland, in the snow with people who are completely used to they are all together, and you are like the foreigner woman. But I had a very strong relationship with actors always. For me, it's very important, because if not, I am lost.
And can you tell us about so your new movie, Presidents?
It's the story begins like there is one president who is depressed because he's without work in a way, but it's in a comedy. It's a comedy, and it's in a very, I think, funny way. The way he's depressed, he's going to meet, to go to see the other one, one is more Nicolas Sarkozy, the inspiration, because it's very free. The other one, François Hollande, more à la gauche, and they're going to be together in a country, you know, maybe this la province française, la Corrèze.
In this, yes, in the Corrèze suburbs, like suburban France.
And it's the relationship between these two ex, but in a way very, very, c'est comme fable, very
like a fable.
A fable.
Like a fairy tale.
Yeah, I think it's the most funny I have done movie. I think I maybe not, but I feel like that, very free, and with two actors amazing, Jean Dujardin and Grégory Gadebois, the two men, and there is two women, of course, the wives.
Behind every great man, there's always a woman.
Yeah.
So what makes you want to make something more of a drama or a thriller or a comedy? Or is it just a matter of you need to alternate because it's so heavy when you get deep into like more of a sad subject, and then you feel like you need something lighter?
But comedy is very complicated to create. Comedy is not easy to do. Now it was the beginning of this virus, and we are confined. And I say after 2 days, I feel that I want to do a comedy. And it was, I do that with somebody I wrote with them, with him. And it was like an adventure. I had this in mind, to do something about two ex-presidents since 2 or 3 years. But this moment I say I'm blocked. We can't do anything. And it was like something free and I felt very free to do to write this movie, and I have the chance that when I finish, I make read to it's universal that and Jean Dujardin says yes in 2 seconds, and it's something that no, I never know. I do a movie against for example, Police was dark, and of course unconsciously I try to reinvent if I can each time, not to be at the place I am before, to make me to take a risk, to take something different, and to try like that.
So when you look back at your whole career so far, what do you feel was the biggest risk you ever took?
Happily, I don't look back because I felt like when I began a movie, really I felt like I have not many experience. I am somebody who felt that the past is not something that makes the experience. It's to be fragile and comfortable that makes me to do something. Now I took a risk when I have done the first movie because I said to myself, I don't do another one after. I didn't want, because I said it was too difficult for myself at the beginning. And it's because Agnès Varda told me that I had a certain talent that maybe I follow. But I was like somebody who felt not legitimate because I haven't done schools, I was not cultivated at all. I haven't done little movies. And I have that inside of me, even if I have done now 18 or I don't know, feature movies. It's like I have no experience. I feel like that.
So does everything become kind of a risk when
it is a risk? It's a risk, but it's a risk to. For me, the risk to not to do is stronger than to do. The risk not to do, to be in normal life, it's more difficult for me than to do a movie.
Well, thank you.
Voilà.
Thank you so very much. Like these are like nice words of wisdom to close this interview. So merci infiniment. We look forward to everyone going to see your movie that we present during the festival, and follow up with like whenever we will have the pleasure of welcoming your next movie, Presidents, here in the States.
With pleasure.
Merci beaucoup.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.